So do you think the Magi and the shepherds are one and the same people? The answer is no. The Magi, the three wise men, and the shepherds are not one and the same people. The Magi and the shepherds are not one and the same people. They are distinct figures and they play different roles. So let us look at the key differences. The Magi were most likely scholars, astrologers, or wise men from the East, traditionally believed to be from Persia, Babylon, or Arabia. They were learned men who studied the stars, prophecies, and ancient texts. And they had a high social status. Their wealth and ability to travel long distance suggest they were of significant rank and influence in their own countries. The shepherds, on the other hand, were low-class workers, typically tending to flocks of sheep in the fields. In biblical times, the shepherds were often seen as humble, everyday people and were not considered part of the elite class. So the Magi followed a star which they interpreted as signaling the birth of a king and traveled from distant land to present gifts to the newborn Jesus. You see that in Matthew 2, 1 to 12. Their gifts were gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They were symbolic offerings that acknowledge Jesus' kingship, divinity, and sacrificial role. The shepherds were the first to hear the angelic announcement of Jesus' birth, and they came to Bethlehem to find the baby. You see that in Luke 2, 8 to 20. And like the Magi, they did not bring material gifts, but responded with worship and spread the news of what they had witnessed. The Magi were learned and wealthy scholars who brought symbolic gifts to honor Jesus as the King and Savior, while the shepherds were humble workers who were among the first to visit the newborn child and spread the message of his birth. The two groups play different roles in the nativity story, and they represent different aspects of how Jesus' birth was received by both the elite, who are the Magi, and the humble, the shepherds. So why do we confuse? Why do Christians confuse the wise men and the shepherds? So the confusion between the wise men, the Magi, and the shepherds in most of the Christian stories is common and is contributed to by several factors which have given rise to this mix-up. While the Magi and the shepherds both played significant roles in the story of Jesus' birth, they have distinct roles and timelines which are often different but blurred in popular culture, church traditions, and storytelling. So here are the main reasons why this confusion is there. So they are combined nativity scenes. So both the Magi and the shepherds are depicted together, often around the same time and place. This is more of a visual, traditional, rather than a literal biblical portrayal. In the biblical account, the Magi arrived sometime after Jesus' birth, while the shepherds visited on the night of his birth. By grouping them together in nativity displays, it becomes easy to assume they were both present at the same time. So in the matter of time, the Magi came later, but the shepherds came immediately on the same night. In popular Christmas carols and songs sometimes blend the roles of the Magi and the shepherds. For example, in the popular song, We Three Kings, the wise men are the primary focus, but the carols like the First Noel and the Hark the Herald Angels Sing mention both groups. These songs, with their universal use, often lead to a blending of the two in people's mind, especially since both groups are considered part of joyful Christmas story. Cultural traditions also add to this mix-up. In many Christmas traditions and pageants, children are dressed as shepherds or wise men, but often these roles are portrayed in overlapping ways. In some cultures, there is less focus on the specific timing and the sequence of events, and the characters are grouped together for convenience or thematic reasoning, such as presenting different people coming to honor Jesus. This misunderstanding has also been contributed to by lack of understanding of the biblical timeline. The Magi are traditionally thought to have arrived sometime after Jesus' birth, likely a few months later. The shepherds, however, visited on the night of Jesus' birth. Since many people are familiar with the Nativity as a single story with a single scene, they may overlook the distinction between these two visits. The Bible does not specify an exact timing, but Matthew and Luke provide clues that suggest that the Magi visited after the shepherds, leading to the natural blending of these events in some people's minds. The simplification of the Nativity story. For the sake of simplicity, especially in children's programs or illustrations, the Nativity story is often simplified, and all the visitors, Magi, shepherds, and the angels are depicted as part of the same immediate event. This creates an easier narrative for children and others to understand, even though the events happened at different times. Shared the theme of worship. Both the Magi and the shepherds played an important role in recognizing and worshiping the newborn Jesus, which is unifying theme in the Nativity story. The Magi bring royal gifts, while the shepherds are the first to hear the angelic announcement and they come to adore him. This common act of reverence, worshiping Jesus as the Messiah, can lead people to associate them with each other more closely. Now, theological symbolism. Both the Magi and the shepherds serve symbolic purpose in the Nativity story. The Magi, representing the Gentiles, simply signify that Jesus came for all people, not just the Jews. The shepherds, representing the humble and the poor, show that the Messiah's birth was for the lowly and the marginalized, because both groups are significant in their worship and acknowledgement of Jesus. It is easy to imagine them in people's minds as important visitors to the native scene. The confusion between the Magi and the shepherds is largely due to their portrayal together in the nativity depictions. Christmas carols and simplified retelling of the story. Though they came at different times and represent different groups, Magi as learned royal figures from the East and the shepherds as humble local laborers. Their shared role in recognizing and worshiping Jesus has led to their roles being sometimes conflated or blurred in popular culture.